Hey mates! So it's been a while since I last updated any of my playlists or added a story chapter section for them. So yeah, so this is chapter 19 to 21 for the Traveler's Wish. So chapter 19. I was in the long white hallway again. Is this gonna happen every time I try to get some Z's? Can't I dream about something nice for a change, like David Tennant or James Masters? Hello, child. A sparkling Romanian voice sounded from behind me. I spun around and saw her. I don't think I'll ever get used to how beautiful she is. Well, what do you expect? She's a god, right? Of course, she's gonna be frickin' gorgeous. I did a strange sort of half-curtsy. Hello, your, highliness. I see you've discovered some more of your powers. Look, took you long enough. Wait, there's more? I asked in disbelief. She shook her head. What type of traveler would you be if you couldn't travel? She sat on the edge of a bright white glass table. Her brightly colored skirts draped over the edge. Most of the others figured it out by now. Wait, there are more travelers? Others? Of course there have been others. You didn't think you were the only one, did you? She didn't wait for me to answer. I choose a new traveler every 100 Earth years. You're just one of a long line of manys. Interesting. As I was saying, you also possess the ability to teleport within a parallel as well, as long as you remain within 25 miles of the link. The greatest force for good, the one whose existence you draw for your power from. So I'm assuming in this case that would be one of the turtles. But remember, every use of your power drains the recharging power of the ring. So the more you use your powers, the longer the recharging time. She was starting to fade, along with the rest of the bright white room. I'm glad I chose you, Roxanne. You remind me of myself. I woke to the sound of the television blasting, with Leonardo sitting less than a foot away, so engrossed in an episode of Space Heroes that he didn't even notice me getting up and walking to the table, where Donatello was seated, twisting some wires together. I cleared some of his clutter, poured some cereal, and sat down next to him. Good morning, I should say afternoon. Man, Roxanne, you sleep like a rock. You slept through a whole shooting match between Leo and Ralph. I'd be surprised if there was anything you couldn't sleep through, Donatello greeted me with. I smiled. I know, it's bad. I once slept through a whole tornado. I woke up and found the whole circus tent torn to shreds. I believe it, he said while fidgeting with his wire. Awesomeness! Leonardo fist-pumped the air, obviously excited by something that happened on this universe's version of Star Trek that was now playing on the huge gold box television set. Donatello rolled his eyes. Of course, an Einstein like himself wouldn't be interested in a show that was probably full of scientifically incorrect nonsense. I twisted my seat to look back at Leonardo, who was leaning in so far to the television and had a huge grin plastered to his face. That was me, I said quietly. What was that? Donnie asked. That was me, I pointed to Leonardo. Every time you guys, your parallels were on. Really? Stupid face and all? Smirked Donnie. Oh, definitely. You had to actually throw something at me to get me to snap out of it. So don't be so hard on Leo. He's a fanboy, and if you say that will never get you anywhere, well, look where it got me. Donnie chuckled quietly. After taking another bite of my cereal, I realized I didn't see the other boys, or Master Splinter. Where's Raphael and Michelangelo? Training with Sensei in April. He sighed when he said April. Then he fidgeted awkwardly around in his seat, as if gathering the courage for something. This is a little awkward for me to ask, but, you, seem to know everything about us, past, present, and future. Do we, he sighed. Do April and I ever, work out? Well, if he's gonna find out from someone, it better be me, right? No, not in any of the other universes I've seen. His face dropped, like I just broke his heart myself. I continued quickly. But this Apertilio thing is a new one. I mean, I've seen April with other humans, and then there's a hint of April and Shredder being a thing one time. His eyes grew wide. April and Shredder? Yeah, well, he was a lot hotter and funnier. Plus, she was a lot older in that universe. I laughed. Oh, Apertilio? He looked even more confused. April and Donatello, Apertilio. It's a fangirl term. We have one on my Earth, for you too. So can I ask another question? He said politely. Anything for Donatello? I smiled sweetly. Do you think he paused? You're a girl. You probably know more about than I do, but he paused again, refusing to meet my eyes, staring intently at his hands. Do you think she likes me back? His words rushed out of his mouth. I bit my lip. I don't know for sure, Donnie, but I do know that it isn't you that's the problem. I then thought about that for a second. But it is you. His face dropped again. But it isn't you. He looked confused. Oh, how the hell am I going to explain this to him? I sighed. It isn't you, Donnie. You're perfect. You're sweet, funny, and loyal to a fault. You're perfect boyfriend material. He met my eyes and smiled. It isn't you. It's this. I said, placing my hand on his shell. My shell? He sounded slightly confused. Not just your shell, your hands, the fact that you're green, everything. You're half animal, Donnie. That's not easy thing to get over, and I know just how confusing that can be to the mind of a female. How can you? He doubted. You think it's easy to be a girl whose favorite heroes and idols are four hilarious and adorably perfect teenage half-turtle boys? He blushed. It's like one part of your mind is screaming, oh, they're so perfect. Could a human find a mutant attractive? But right at the same time, though, you get another that screams even louder, ew, that's bestiality. It's really confusing to a fangirl's brain, Donnie. But don't worry, I ship you in April. I have faith that everything will work out. This universe won't disappoint me. I just know it. I placed my hand on his and squeezed it. Then I laughed, thinking back to my childhood. It's funny, now that I think about it. I spent a long time back then pondering if I could find Raphael attractive or not. It's really mind-boggling, and still, to this day, hurts my brain to think about. So I simply choose not to, I said, rolling my eyes. Donnie laughed. Wait, you thought Raphael might be attractive? Yeah, silly, I know, right? But then again, I've always had a weak spot for the whole bad boy sarcastic leather jacket thing. Kind of like David Bowie in The Labyrinth. I chuckled. Davy Bowie what? Said April, who was now standing right behind us. I swear Donatello almost jumped out of his shell. He quickly snatched his hand out from under mine. I was just telling Donatello about one of my favorite movies. I stepped in quickly. The Labyrinth? I love that movie. It's so old, but so good, she said excitedly. David Bowie. She nodded, smiling, obviously referring to how immensely gorgeous he was in that movie. In those tight leather pants? I nodded back, grinning evilly. Movie night? She asked, returning my evil grin. Movie night, I replied. I have it at my house. I'll bring it here tonight. That okay? That's if it's okay with the guys, she asked, looking at Donatello. Did someone say movie night? Asked an excited Michelangelo, popping out of nowhere. Oh, trust me, it's not a movie you boys would be interested. It's a musical fantasy, more of a chick thing, I tried to explain. No. I'd like to watch it for scientific purposes, stated Donatello. Scientific purposes? April raised her eyebrow at Donatello. Yeah, exploring the female mind. As you can see, I grew up in a house full of brothers. Always action and horror movies. For once, I'd like to know what girls watch. It's purely scientific, he explained. He's gonna watch us like lab rats. Oh well, at least we have some educated company to hang with. I'd like to watch it too, because if you two say it's good, then it's at least worth watching, Mikey piped in enthusiastically. What about you two? I asked, turning towards Leonardo and Raphael. Leonardo, who had since finished his episode of Space Heroes, and had silently joined us at the table. I'm game. How about you, Raph? He turned towards his brother. Oh no way I'm sitting through chick flick. Not happening, he shook his head. Well, he would last very long after the dance numbers, anyway. I noticed an old broken iPod on top of Donnie's pile of techno scraps. I got an idea. Donnie, can I have this? Sure, I guess. It's pretty much broken, though. I can't use it for anything, he answered. I slid it in my pocket. After a shower and a magical change of clothes, I decided I was going to help Mikey with his ADD. We were seated across from each other on the floor, alone in the training room. I didn't want any distractions from the guys or teasing from Raphael. The first step in learning to control your ADD is to realize that your mind just works differently from normal people. He nodded, big blue eyes, eager to learn. This is definitely the youngest and most innocent version of my favorite turtle that I've ever seen. Not that it is a bad thing, but he's still my hero in any shape or size. The next thing you need to come to terms with is that there is nothing wrong with you. You aren't stupid or slow or any of the other things that short, green, and hot-headed may have led you to think of yourself. I lectured, referring obviously to Raphael. And it's all about how you think of yourself, I smiled. I know how hard it is to walk around believing that you're stupid or that something's wrong with you. But it's just our brains, Mikey. The mechanism in them may turn a little differently, but it still turns. Not all things that come with it are bad, though. Yeah, and what exactly are these, bad things? He said while mimicking quotation marks with his hands. I could hear a sarcastic doubt resonate in his voice. It may seem like you can't pay attention at all, but that isn't true. Sure, sometimes it might feel like you can't pay attention to some things, no matter how hard you try, or how much you want to. But have you noticed that some of the things you don't even try to focus on, you master easily and much faster than normal people? Like how you can wrap and hold a moving target at 30 feet away with your chain without even trying. If any of your brothers tried that, they'd end up all black and blue and wrapped up in about 20 feet of their own chain. You have immense focus without even realizing it. Don't you mean black and green? He laughed. After finishing up with Michelangelo and eating a lunch of cold leftover pizza, still delicious, I decided to test out my new powers even further. I had a hunch I could alter more than just fabric. I sat on the couch, the white, broken, and cracked iPad in my hands. The boys were in the dojo training with Splinter. I had decided to sit this one out to give them some probably much-needed Roxanne-free family time. Plus, I needed to conserve power for this experiment. My ring had been steadily getting brighter. I stared intently at the broken piece of equipment in my hands and willed it to be unbroken. Green energy seeped like smoke out of my ring, entering the iPod through the cracks and the crevices till they were gone completely, and the device powered itself on, fully charged. Sweet, I smirked to myself. This is so freaking cool. No, wait, let me rephrase that. I am so freaking cool. I reached behind me for Donatello's laptop, which I had asked to borrow before he left for practice. The pair of headphones I spent a good 10 minutes untangling from a massive piece of copper wire in Donatello's pile, safely in my pocket. I spent the next hour pirating songs and transferring them to my new, magically healed iPod, till I had completed the perfect playlist. Just as I finished up, I heard yelling in the training room. I couldn't make out exactly what was being said, but it was definitely a shouting match between the hothead and the fearless leader. Typical. I rolled my eyes. Just then, Leonardo stormed out of the dojo, while Donnie and Mikey right on his heels, trying unsuccessfully to calm him down. That temper is going to get us all killed. When I say defense left, that is what I meant, not a stupid argument about why right would be better. Leo, just take a deep breath, Donatello said, trying to calm his brother down. That's what Donnie does. He keeps the balance of his team. Chill, bro, you're going to scare Roxanne. Mikey patted Leo on the show. Leo noticed my raised eyebrow. I'm sorry, Raphael just takes it out of me sometimes, he apologized. Don't worry, I know. Trust me, I've seen it. I know. Master Splinter emerged from the training room and shot the boys a very I'm disappointed in you look. They bowed their heads, obviously ashamed. He shook his head before acknowledging my presence with a nod and walking off to his room. Well, now is a good time as any to go help someone out with their issues. Man, I'm turning into a real therapist around here. Chapter 20. I stood under the arch at the entrance to the training room. Raphael was fiercely beating the crap out of that old red punching bag. Seriously, how is that thing still holding together? Duct tape. It had to be duct tape, I joked to myself. He hadn't noticed me standing there yet. What'd that punching bag ever do to you? I smirked, walking towards him and sitting on the floor. Oh, it's you, he said, still punching away. Who are you expecting? The Pope? I smiled. No, maybe Leo with an apology. He trailed off. He didn't believe that, and he knew I didn't either. I think the Pope would be more believable. He stopped punching just long enough to shoot me a grin. I decided to try to reason with him. I know what it's like to have to take orders from someone you don't want to hear them from. Like saying an annoying goody brother, or in my case, know-it-all step-parents. But I know deep down, past the annoying hero antics, Leonardo is a good leader. He sighed, then sat down next to me. Yeah, I know. He says some pretty cheesehead stuff sometimes, but I know his heart is in the right place. Then I realized what he just admitted. If you tell Leo one word of what I just said, I smiled and laughed evilly to myself. His eyes widened. Calm yourself, Raphael. I won't. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out the iPod. I attached the headphones to it. Being angry all the time isn't good. Bottling everything up isn't healthy, isn't good. You need a release. He shot me a total pervert look. Did I really just phrase that like that? I wagged my finger at him. Not a word. Not one word. Music always calms me down. I was experimenting with some of my powers, and, well, I placed the iPod into his hands. I loaded up with a couple of my favorite songs that I have a feeling you'll like. I cocked my sideways grins, sure of myself, like always. He shot me a doubtful look. I'll believe it when I hear it. He plugged the headphones into his small reptilian ears and pressed play. Any money, he was thinking. What could a teenage girl like that I could possibly be interested in anyways? I could hear the faint sound of Guns N' Roses' hit Welcome to Jungle emit from the headphones. He closed his eyes and slowly then suddenly started rocking his head along to the beat. A small grin started to form on his face. I sat there contentedly enjoying Raphael's happiness. It felt good to make him happy. Like, really, really good. While he was distracted, I reached into his belt and nimbly pulled one of his sides free and began twisting it in my hands. Then it fell to the floor with a quiet thunk. He finally noticed. Pulling the headphones away, he laughed. Let's just say your taste in music is way better than your hand-to-eye coordination. And that's a good thing. Your sides were always my favorite weapon. I've been meaning to ask you. Can you show me? He smiled. Normally, it would be a no questions asked, but in light of this, he held up the iPod. Sure, I'll show you. We need some tunes for this first. I took the iPod and turned the volume all the way up. You Shook Me All Night Long began to pump from the speakers. I transformed. She was a fast machine. He tossed me aside. She kept the motor clean. He twirled it. I repeated his pattern for a millisecond after he performed them. She was the best damn woman that I've ever seen. We worked in time to the music. I swear it was like something out of a music video. I tossed him my sigh. He performed a defense maneuver before tossing them both back to me, and I executed it perfectly. We worked like this till the song was almost completely over, and the last few notes played out. That was amazing. I love that. How did you know I would? He asked. Simple. What kind of rebel without a cause would be without badass 80s soundtrack? I responded while thrusting the set of sighs into the air. Now, if you were all human, all you need is a leather jacket. You already have a badass bike. I've often wondered what I'd look like as a human, he pondered. I smiled. I've seen art of what you and your brothers would look like as humans, and let me tell you, you all got it going on. I smirked. Oh, really? The corner of his mouth twitched into a grin. Hair, too? He asked, laughing, running a hand over his bald green head. You would all have such perfect hair. You and Leo would have badass straight black hair, but you would have red tips dyed, obviously to match your rebel personality. Donnie's hair would be sleek and straight as well, but a really nice rich brown color. And Mikey, I cocked another sideways grin. Michelangelo have the most beautiful golden blonde curls you've ever seen. Real beach babe thing going on, I laughed. Chapter 21. Satisfied with my new sigh handling abilities, I left Raphael alone to enjoy the music. AC/DC, I just knew he'd love them. I walked back into the living room and saw Michelangelo and Leonardo on the couch playing a very intense video game on Donatello's homemade Xbox. There's nothing the turtle can't build, seriously. Speaking of Donatello, where is he? I looked around and he was sitting in the far corner of the room on the floor with his back against the wall, way out of earshot of the loud car racing game that was blasting from the television. Sweet victory! Mikey fist-pumped as I walked by. Leonardo just face-pumped. Rematch? You're on. The orange-clad turtle jumped back into his seat. They didn't even notice me. Hey, maybe I'm getting the hang of this ninja thing after all, I laughed to myself. Donatello looked all zoned out. Some sort of sad auto-tune popped love song played out from Donatello's laptop as I sat down next to him. As soon as he noticed me, he quickly shut the laptop. Love songs, Donnie? I sarcastically smirked. Then I mentally felt bad. Like, what would he think I was teasing him for being hopelessly in love with April? Which is not what I was thinking at all. He sighed sadly and looked down. What I was thinking was that someone with an IQ that high would listen to something a little better than. Look, Donatello, I'm Team Apertalio and all. If you're gonna do love songs, you're gonna do some real, actual, powerful love songs. Not that whiny auto-tune crap. So help me. I practically yanked the junkyard special out of his hands. He just stared at me embarrassed. With a half grin on my face, I typed a song into the search bar, plopped the computer back into his lap, and hit play. The beautiful soft sound of trumpets began to play. I had searched one of my favorite lung songs for him. Can't Take My Eyes Off of You by Frankie Valli. He shot me an odd look. It clearly states trumpets. Really? Just trust me on this. I elbowed him. You're just too good to be true. I smiled and thought back to the inferior feeling of when I was in love. Can't take my eyes off of you. The love-struck turtle noticed my blissful expression. You'd be like heaven to touch. He smiled, closing his eyes and resting his head against the wall, just falling into the music. Now, do I know my turtles, or do I know my turtles? This bond I have with them, they don't return it, but I feel it when I can sense their emotions. Take the words literally out of their mouths and know exactly what each of wants and needs. It must have something to do with the fact that my ring draws its powers from their essence, or something like that. I spent the next 30 minutes showing Donnie some amazing classic power ballads, which, as I had guessed, he loved completely. Yeah, I just converted yet another turtle over to my classic obsession. Donatello's phone rang. Ironically, the phone was the original tone from the theme song of the classic show. I laughed. Hey, April, what's up? April, what's up? Answered Donnie, trying to be cool. I could hear what she was saying. You're bringing pizza? Okay, see you in a bit. Bye, replied the love-struck purple-clad turtle, excited over the idea of having both pizza and April over tonight. I was still laughing as he shut the tea phone. By now, I was laughing so hard, no sound that was coming out, and I just sat there slapping my thigh like a retarded seal. The image that pops into my head hearing that. What's so funny? Asked a confused Donatello. It was the ringtone. That ironic connection to the classic theme was too much for me. Nothing. Just promise me you'll never, ever change that ringtone, I told him. Okay. He looked slightly confused. I'm starting to get used to. Guys, April will be here in 20 minutes, and she's bringing pizza. After April had arrived, we had a quick family dinner in which I caught a whiff of Master Splinter's sushi. Ugh, nasty stuff. I agree. I hate sushi. April, myself, Leonardo, Donatello, and Michelangelo all crammed onto the couch, which, in my opinion, is the best possible way to watch a movie. Michelangelo made some popcorn with the instant microwavable bags that April had also brought with her. And 5 minutes into the previews, curiosity got the best of even Raphael, and he joined us on the old lazy boy beside the couch, which I knew would happen. After many odd looks from the guys at mine and April's swooning over the magnificence that was the Goblin King, I agree that is one of the best movies is The Labyrinth. Currently it's on Netflix, which makes me extremely happy. Several very confused, indescribable looks from Donatello, and many, many sarcastic comments by Raphael, followed by shushing from me and the redhead at my side. We finally got to my, and apparently April's favorite part, the As the World Falls Down number, in which the handsome villain waltzes the heroine around a masquerade ball. Even though she was high on a magic peach, and probably couldn't even remember her own name, I found it very romantic. Does he seriously have blue glitter in his hair? Really? Commented Raph sarcastically. I'll paint you mountains of gold. I'll spend every Valentine evening. Though we're strangers to love, who were chosen to the path among the stars. I'll place my love between the stars. April and I sighed and swooed simultaneously. And yet another odd look from Donnie. After we finished the movie, April stood up. I got to go, but it was nice to fangirl with an actual girl. She laughed and headed for the exit. I stood up and stretched. Wait, April, your DVD, I called after her noticing the empty case on the coffee table. Keep it, I'll be back for it tomorrow, she yelled. She yelled back, then continued on her way. Everyone started heading back to their rooms. Raphael was passed out on the chair. Figures. I guess sparkling rock star Goblin Kings aren't really his thing. Well, that was different. See you in the morning, said Leo before heading down the hall. I liked it, I really did. I think I'm gonna have Dance Magic Dance stuck in my head for all day tomorrow, laughed Mikey. I gently nudged Raph on the arm. I'm okay, go away, Spike. He mumbled, still asleep. Wake up, Raphael, I laughed. He woke, startled. Probably by my voice. I mean, after years of living with just his brothers and father, being woken by a female voice must be startling. Oh, it's just you. Whatever. Good night, Roxanne. Another chill ran up my spine. He sauntered off sleepily to his room. I crawled back onto the couch to make my makeshift bed, when I noticed Donatello sitting on the floor just inches away from the screen, intently skipping back through the scenes of the movie. Donnie, what are you doing? I asked. He hit play when he got to the ballroom scene, where Jareth was very seductively waltzing, a position positively mesmerized Sarah around and around. He hesitated. Can you teach me how to do that? He asked with eager eyes. So my little Technological turtle wants to learn how to dance. Probably because he saw how much April liked it. My heart just melted. Yes, Donnie, I'll teach you, I promise. His eyes lit up as he left. The lights dimmed, and yet again I fell asleep smiling. Okay, so that was the next 3 chapters of the Traveler's Wish. Yeah, until next time, Knights. Peace out.